Hi there, I'm Phil Wilburn, Vice President of People Analytics at Workday. We recently released our Global Workforce Report, which reveals top trends from our Workday data to help our customers see around corners. And I'm thrilled to be speaking about some of these trends at Workday Rising with Lee Henderson, founder and CEO of the HR Manifesto. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Love the report. I've read it 3 times, I'm just saying. Good work.
Oh, thank you. It's just, like I said,
Insightful.
3 months of my life in a black hole for this report. So,
It was worth it.
okay,
Yeah, it was worth it.
great. All right. Lee, I know you keep things refreshingly candid on social and on your podcast, HR Besties. What workforce trends have you been top of mind this year?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's really struck me, and I'm sure it has struck you, right, in your space of people analytics, but it's the voluntary turnover of high potentials. Your high potentials, those are the folks in your organization that you should be bending over backwards to retain and keep. And so to see them leaving really in droves, at least versus previous years, is pretty shocking, right? We talk a lot on social about quiet quitting, but the thing that keeps me up at night is the quiet leaving. You like how I did that? Of high potentials. And so that's just, that to me has blown me away. And as a nearly 20-year HR professional, what I'm seeing, first time in my career, are people leaving without jobs lined up.
Hmm.
I never thought I'd see the day. I mean, I never even thought that was a thing or could be a thing, but especially just in these tumultuous, COVID, post-COVID years, I'm seeing that now, which is wild. So.
Yeah, that was a big surprise finding for us as well. 75% of the industries we track saw a spike in high potential turnover, and we've had 2 years of historically low turnover. Do you have any thoughts about what's happening right now?
Well, I do. I have lots of thoughts, and maybe shameless plug, follow HR Manifesto on the onlines, on the socials, across the socials. But it is an incredibly hard work environment for a lot of people, right? And so burnout is high, and psychological safety may be low in some organizations. I talk a lot about toxic workplaces and what I do, trying to coach people to find joy in their work and protect themselves by creating healthy boundaries. And I think that's what they're doing. I think people are saying, you know what, work isn't everything. It's something to me, but it's not everything. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so I definitely promote and push for folks to really prioritize themselves first, because without keeping yourself, healthy and secure, you can't be there for anybody else. Right. So, but I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's weird years,
It is strange years. So that's from the employee side. If you're on the employer side and you're seeing this, what do you think are some of the top strategies, organizations and HR could be doing to retain these top talent?
Absolutely. Great question. But I think there's a three-pronged approach here. First and foremost, and you actually talk about it in your workforce report, although I already had the idea anyway. I just want to, for the record, okay? But you kind of reinforced it in the workforce report.
You would save me a lot of time the next time we do this report if I could just
talk to me first, and then we'll see if the data, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
But first and foremost is rebuilding trust. It really is, right? I mean, we've seen, mass layovers. We've seen just the, chaos in the workplace. We've seen return to office, and I mean, just all of the things, right? And so we want to make sure that employees feel psychologically safe, physically safe at work, and just have security. Right. I mean, that's a big one. I know you talk about ways for employers to rebuild trust. And so if you are an employer, you're a leader, you need to check out the workforce report because it's got some good tips in there. It's near the last page. So definitely do that. The second thing is opportunities for growth. right? And so personalization will continue to be a theme as we move forward, meaning, guess what? People want to be treated like individuals. People think they're special. Isn't that wild? And so they want training plans, they want career paths, they want to be in partnership, with their leaders and what that might look like. They definitely want individualized, flexible work arrangements, right? So that's very important that we create these opportunities for growth for high potentials, right? They want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. They want to make sure they're moving somewhere. And then meaningful work.
Yeah.
Meaningful work is a huge one. People want to make an impact.
Yeah.
They really, really do. And especially high potentials. They want to make sure that the work they're working on aligns with the overarching strategy and goals of your organization. And so that is key, especially for high potential retention.
Yeah, that point on meaningful work is pretty big. I mean,
Huge.
you just came to our presentation, you saw the data, you have the report. We found that employees who have meaningful work are 36% more likely to feel accomplished and productive at work, right? And it's even greater if they have meaningful work and they're not overwhelmed by their workload. So
Fascinating.
it is fascinating. I'm sure you already knew that.
See, you could have just asked me first to your previous point. We would have just reinforced it with the data.
Okay. All right. I see how this is going. This is why I'm in people analytics. And yes, you do what you do.
HR.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on the future of flex and hybrid work? And I say this because our report said that 59% of respondents said that flex work had a positive impact on the organization within the last 12 months.
Yeah, well, flex and hybrid work is a non-negotiable. I mean, we're at that point. I mentioned the word personalization, right? Individualization. And that's all about creating a very healthy and meaningful employee experience. Right. And so flex hybrid work is not a nice to have anymore. It's a must have for organizations to stay competitive. But here's the catch, right? Is that the execution has to be done well. It has to be done right. Because what we've seen in recent years is organizations putting in flexible work programs and then retracting or iterating in ways that are really culturally devastating to their organizations. And then we see talent flight, right? People leaving like how dare they? What a tease. I mean, that is a huge conversation across the socials. And people talking about that, kind of the bait and switch from organizations there. So again, just really that emphasis on execution. And why that is so important is because it gives companies the opportunity to create engaging cultures, right? Cultures that employees can engage with and stay connected to. It really personalizes the experience.
Yeah, and I think maybe I could summarize this, like if you're going to make flexible work program, make sure the employee is in the loop, right? So they can give feedback on that, right? And say what's working for the employee.
Yeah, and so to that point, I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Because Workday did just that. And we didn't even, this is off script. Okay. I read the report multiple times, like I said, but I know Workday put in, a hybrid flex work policy, and there was feedback, right? Like there always is from the workforce, and you all listened. Fascinating. Go figure. Like imagine doing that, right? Pulsing and listening to your organization and then taking action. And you all created this work from almost anywhere program. As an HR professional, like mind blown, But can you share some of that? I mean, it's fascinating because so many organizations are struggling with this.
Yes.
So how did you all really solve this puzzle?
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job summarizing. We put in a flex program, and our flex program is that we ask our employees to be in person 50% of the time over a course of 3 months. They get to choose when that time is, and it's usually with their teams. And we put that in place a number of years ago. And then we heard some feedback. It's like, this is great, but I remember when we had total flexibility that I could go to my grandmother's house and work there for a couple weeks, and they wanted that back. And so this Work from Almost Anywhere program allows our employees up to 30 days a year to work almost anywhere. They have to have right to work there, right?
Of course.
And
Hashtag
to
taxes,
Yes.
hashtag, yeah, regulations.
regulations, taxes, so forth
All
like
the
that.
things.
And that was received so well. And it's something like 20% of our employee base has taken advantage of that program.
Wow.
And it's simple things like this week, one of the person on my team, she's spending 2 weeks at home because they have a new puppy. And so they wanted to train the puppy. And so that doesn't count against her time at work. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
listening to your employees and treating them like adults.
Yeah, puppy parental leave. Like I totally love, but while working, like I love that. Oh gosh. Well, I think that's a fascinating program. I actually haven't heard anything so creative. I really haven't. And so kudos to you all.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Oh, I want to work from anywhere for 30 days. That
Well,
sounds
you
great.
know, we actually employ quite a few HR professionals at work daily. This might be an interview. Who knows?
Oh, and all of a sudden it's an interview. Let me tell you about myself.
Okay. Okay. All right. Another question here. What impact, we're talking a lot about AI here this week at Workday Rising. And what do you think the AI is going to have on the future of work? What kind of impact are you foreseeing, or what are you hearing from, your friends and your colleagues also in HR?
Yeah. Well, read the report. And, I know that 26% of organizations are using AI to screen resumes. Is that right? And candidate skills. And I think more of that. Right, we definitely want to do that. But the impact AI is going to have, especially in HR and just really across business, is that it's going to remove a lot of the repetitive, let's say, non-value added sort of tasks, which then creates this opportunity for people to focus on more creative work, more strategic work. And I'm all for that because I love strategy and creativity. So I would love to be able to shift some of those admin tasks off my plate to where I can actually work on some of those meaningful, more value-added tasks during my workday versus at night after the end of all my meetings that were on repetitive tasks, right? And so I really, really see AI enhancing the employee experience. And to me, that wakes me up in the morning. It really does, because hashtag HR nerd. But I think about the effect that that's going to have, on every worker.
Yeah.
And just how brilliant that's going to be, right? It's kind of one of those things where it's like, I wish I was born like 30 years later, so I could experience the effect of AI full force, because I'm retiring, okay? Like, so I'm not going to be doing, I'm just going to watch from the cheap seats here in a couple decades and see how that plays out. But it's going to have a tremendous effect, but I think they're positive. What's fascinating is that on the socials, people talk a lot about AI replacing jobs, right? And there's a lot of fear around AI. And I think that stems from just a lack of understanding of what it is, right? And what it can do. And really the insights the data can offer us to make more data-informed decisions as organizations, right? And that affects the people and their welfare and wellness. And so there's a lot of goodness
There is.
that's going to come from AI, and I'm here for it.
I like how positive you are about this. I do think that it's going to help. It's actually going to make work so much easier and get rid of all those annoying things we hate about work, right? And we should be educating and telling people, and then we should be really focused on skills, because you're going to need new skills, right? If you were doing this repetitive work, you're going to learn new skills for new jobs out there.
Absolutely. So don't be scared. Don't be scared, because I'm sure, you went into your role, you have a passion and an expertise in a certain field, and then you show up day one and 60% of your workday is admin tasks, right? And we're like, you're like, what the heck? I was supposed to do this, and
got
that's
this
only
advanced
5% of my time, right? And so think of a future where you flip those percentages, and I really see that. I'm already seeing that,
Yes.
right? And so I know we haven't untapped the potential of AI and its effect on the workforce and organizations yet, but we're going to get there. And like I said, it's exciting. Like, future is bright with that.
That's great. Well, Lee, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank
too.
you so much for coming to Workday Rising and reading this very
I printed it and everything.
intense and quoting stats to me. You being a data nerd, this is
Okay.
my love language. So if you're interested in learning more about the Global Workforce Report, check out the link in this post and let us know which workforce trend you're most excited about in the comments.